Welcome to the Mismatch. I'm Chris Vernon, and joining us he does every week from TheRinger.com is Dave Jacoby. Jacoby!
We are back.
We are back, and we have
so
got a
much
ton.
NBA basketball last night.
How many times have your opinions changed over the last week? It's crazy. Every night I am watching these games, and my opinions change dramatically, and that is the blessing and the curse of early season basketball, is because all of these teams are figuring out who they are. Some of them are working in new personnel. And so a lot of them look drastically different from night to night. And my opinion goes right with them looking drastically different.
Oh, well, it's also quarter to quarter. You know,
Yes.
I know you're at we'll be talking about that Grizzly Bulls game, but second quarter, it looks like, oh, look at the Grizz. They're cruising.
I believe I texted you, the Bulls are ass.
That's a quote. That's a direct quote.
Yeah, that didn't work out so well. Anyway, Let's get to a lot of the things that happened on Monday night. First of all, the big headline is the PAO Monster Game. That is one of those, every once in a while, something will happen. So I was at a game last night, and something will reverberate, meaning everybody that's like sitting around me starts chatterboxing around it, and I start getting text about it. And when PAO had 37, 7, and 6 at halftime, that was certainly one of those things. Like when I first saw it, the first text I got was PAO has 37, 7, and 6. It's halftime. And I was like, no way. Like I figured somebody's app had a glitch or something. But 37, 7, and 6. And he ends up with the 50-piece last night. And just a monster game for PAO. I know you were very high on the Magic going into the year, but you know, you keep seeing all these stats going around. PAO, the only players in NBA history to record 50-plus points, 10-plus rebounds, and 5-plus assists in a game before turning 22 years of age, are now LeBron James and Paolo Banchero.
I mean, so a couple things about last night is you get those notifications, so you immediately click over to the Magic game. And I was sitting back being like, all right, we're going to see 60. You know, I had higher hopes for this one. He kind of got a little tie in the second half. It sort of seemed like he really sort of exerted himself a lot to get to that 37 in the first half. The second half wasn't as impressive. But when someone scores 50 in this decade, we'll call it, usually it involves a lot of three-pointers. He only had 3 threes. That's one of the things that I loved about this performance so much is the playmaking that he does for others and that he does it around the basket, floating towards the basket, back to the basket. It's not just someone who hits a bunch of threes and gets hot like Peyton Pritchard last night.
I do wonder if NBA players see a lot of things, and I just want to live in a fantasy world where Paolo Banchero, I don't know if you saw this going around last night, this guy, Alex Caruso, not the Alex Caruso, but he gives out like picks and prop picks for the night. Oh, this was his big lock. It was Paolo Banchero under 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He will get clamped by Siakam. Run up the hearts for another NBA play. Banchero is under in 6 out of 6 career games versus Pascal Siakam. And it says...
Timeout, Verno. Yeah. Timeout. 20-second timeout. Do you really want to trade in the currency of trashing people's bad predictions when it comes to NBA basketball? Because I don't know if I don't want to wade in those waters. I
don't, but this is an all-timer.
Okay.
When your best bet, you deserve this. I'm one of those that I always say this. I dish it out, but I can take it. Mm-hmm. If you want to jump me, that's fine.
No one's going to bat 1,000.
But, I mean, come on, bro. Under 38.5 is a lock, and he had 37, 7, and 6 at halftime, and you wrote he will get, in all caps, clamped by Pascal Siakam. I mean, that's tough. It's just a tough look. That's all I'm saying.
Of course. But I think these Magic, one of the reasons I was high on them was Paolo sort of taking a next step. And it feels like he has. He had 33 against Miami, at 15, 16 against your Grizz. And then last night, the 50. It was closer than it should have been, though. You know, when you have a performance like that, you don't expect the game to be that close. But I want to give a shout out to Jalen Suggs because obviously the last time we spoke about him was because of the extension. We celebrate his defense, but he's been hitting threes, man. Like he's been hitting threes. He was 6 for 15 last night. Like he's been knocking down that shot. And when you see someone get paid like that, it usually goes one of two ways. Like sometimes it's like, all right, I got my bag. I'm a downshift. I'm going to mail it in a little bit. Or it's, I got my bag. I'm comfortable. This organization wants me to be here. I'm going to be here for the unforeseen future. So let me just settle in and find my role and be the best I can for this organization. It certainly feels like Jalen Suggs is going to the ladder.
Well, and his 3-point numbers have gone up progressively every year. And now he's over 5 attempts a game. And he's been, I believe, over 40% so far this year, right at it. So unbelievable return so far on Suggs, and they've got to feel good about paying him long term because, I mean, on one side of the court, he is just an absolute force of nature. And now, if he starts knocking down threes, and that's exactly what that Orlando team needs.
Yes.
They need guys that are able to space out the floor and knock down shots. All right. Let's do a little fill me in here because, you know, I was at Grizzlies Bulls last night. And so there was a bunch of games going on. You were texting me trying to keep me up to date on everything that was going on. I will say, shout out to the NBA. I bought my league pass through Prime this year, Amazon Prime, and it pulls up on my phone just absolutely perfectly, like even in the arena. And so I was bopping from game to game. Every time you would send me a text, I would try to catch the end of these games as they were closing out. So you were flipping around trying to watch all of these. Give me a quick thoughts on all of these. Celtics Bucks.
It's the Peyton Pritchard night. Like, Peyton Pritchard is, if it's the end of the quarter, put 2 on Pritchard. You know, if there's going to be a buzzer, this needs to get like a Pavlovian response to the clock ticking down and the buzzer. He's going to get you one, but he had 8 threes. I mean, it was just, you know, we all know what Tatum brings and Brown brings and that, but when you have a role player like that just has a night like that, it really just opens up everything for everybody else. You could tell that the team themselves absolutely loved it. Like, this was the Peyton Pritchard night. I was watching the game, like the second quarter, he hit his 5th three. Yeah, I think it was just like the announcers lost their mind when he hit his 3rd three. Just, you know, it just went from there. It was the Peyton Pritchard night, and I think that we're going to be discussing the Bucks much later because the bigger story isn't that Peyton Pritchard hit some threes. That's just what we're going to tease you with now. But there's a much larger discussion about what is happening in Milwaukee with the Bucks that we will have later.
Well, and also, look, when that is much more playoff-esque, where a team comes in with a game plan, and here's what we want to stop. And those other guys, if they kill you, now you've got a huge problem on your hand, right? We saw it last year, if you recall. Batum, Dallas moved on because P.J. Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. were just alternating these big games for Dallas against Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City was like, look, if P.J. Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. beat us, then so be it. And then they did.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you see these other Boston Celtics being able to step up, it certainly bodes well for the future.
That reminds me of the Grant Williams game against the Bucks.
Yep.
The same matchup. Remember that game? It's just like they have a game plan, but you know what's not part of the game plan? It's Grant Williams hitting 7 threes. That happened with Batum last year. I believe it was the play-in game that the Sixers had. But moving on to the game that I had circled, Knicks. The Knicks, I could go on for hours about this, but I won't. I'll just say that I'm an optimistic Knicks fan. They have lost 2 games to 2 undefeated teams, the Cavs and the Celtics. Last night it was the Cavs. They beat the Pacers handily in their second game. Cavs came to town. It was a close game throughout. No one on the Knicks played particularly well. Cat didn't do much. Brunson didn't do much. Hart got hurt, a little worried about that. But this was really, the story of this game is not about the New York Knicks. It's about Darius Garland. Because when I think about the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think about Mitchell and I think about the 2 bigs, and Garland is often an afterthought. And last night he was fantastic. He was 34 points, 5 for 8 from 3. And it was Mitchell and Garland just sort of like, they dominated the second half of that game. And they just the 2 of them brought them the victory easily.
So you left that game thinking more about the Cavs than necessarily about the Knicks.
Absolutely.
You thought this is a function of the Cavs being awesome, not the Knicks being bad.
Absolutely. I think the Cavs, I think both of us were pretty high on them preseason, and that is certainly borne out on the court. And the I'm calling it the Atkinson diet. The Atkinson diet is looking good on the Cavs. No Ozempic needed.
The Nuggets, boy, they are not making a good first impression for anybody, Jacoby. And you texted me and you said the Raps are going to beat the Nuggets, and then I think you were despondent. As resident Pistons fans, we've watched this where they've had fourth quarter leads, and then it's like, oh no, this is what bad teams do. The other team decides, okay, it's time to turn up for these last 12 minutes, and then they just take care of business. But they lure you in like, oh my goodness, the Pistons are going to win, or oh my goodness, like last night, the Raptors are going to win against the Nuggets, and then it's turn up time, and the Nuggets flip the game around.
It took absolutely everything the Nuggets had to beat the Raptors in overtime. I'm just going to say it again. It took a last-second bucket by Jamal Murray, a good reverse layup. It was a really tough shot. It took Scotty Barnes. I hope he's okay. He took a really, really tough elbow from Jokic. You know how Jokic always has those scratches on his arms? You can tell how he gets them because he throws those arms around. And his arms are just huge and just powerful, and he nailed Scotty Barnes. And Scotty Barnes needed help walking over to the bench. And then when he got to the bench, he didn't sit in the chair. He kind of like took like a bedside prayer motion thing, which made me think it wasn't just like a structural thing. It might have been like a concussion. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what happened. But like Scotty Barnes did not look good after that. I hope he is okay. But I can't lie. Earmuffs, everybody. I was rooting for the Raptors so hard because I love narratives and I've got a little schadenfreude about me. Like I like other people's sadness. And the Nuggets won a championship a couple of years ago. So I'm rooting for this to be a disaster because I really think they're wasting Nikola Jokic with how they constructed this. We will discuss this more later, but I was rooting for them to lose and they should have lost that game. Like the Raptors blew it more than anything else. I think they're up 4 with 70 seconds left or something.
Well, and you're already seeing all of the plus minus numbers being hovered around every single day. When you're only a week into the season and you're seeing all the plus minus numbers hovering around, and this has always been the case where they're a radically different team with Jokic on the court than not, but it seems like we're going to go to the absolute extreme this year where they are a good team when he is on the court and they can't survive a minute without him on the court. Now, I will say, Russ brought them a bunch of energy in the fourth. Like it's been a disgusting debut in the first couple of games for him in Denver. But it is one of those things where one of the things about Russ is he's going to keep trying every single night. Like the thing that I've always honored about him is there's a lot of guys that the outcome of a game each night don't really matter. It matters to him every night. You can fault him for the way he plays, and you can fault him for where he is within the context of the league now, and that he tries to do things that he used to do, that he can't do at the rate that he used to do them, and all of those things. But he still cares, and I do think that always has a profound effect on the guys that he is out on the court with.
I want to applaud you, Chris Vernon, because in October 29th, the morning of October 29th, the year of our Lord 2024, you fixed your lips and celebrated Russell Westbrook for something he's done on a basketball court. I mean, that's impressive.
That's not true.
That's a really good turn of media work right there. That's a great zag. That's a great zag. Zag.
But I'm the Russ guy.
He sucks. He is bringing that team down. They are better without him than with him. Not just on the floor. I mean, like in the building. Like that. Like I wouldn't be surprised. You know what? Put a pin in that because we're just in the catch you up on last night part. I've got a whole Nuggets thing later, so we can get back to it. Other games I want to get to. The Wizards. The Wizards look kind of good. He sucks.
I changed co-host and I thought I was going to get.
No.
I thought no. All right, this is one I'm just never gonna. No. I'm never gonna. You know what? It's come to me. I'm never going to find anybody that's on my side.
His kids are like, Dad, you want to spend more time around the house? Sure.
No. Rocket Spurs.
Rocket Spurs,
I like that it's getting feisty.
It got a little feisty. Wemby hit a shot that kind of looked like it was going to be the game winner, and then Van Vliet is just like wide open from the top of the key, and just it kind of reminded me of that run when they beat the Warriors. It's like Fred Van Vliet is he one of the top 5 point guards in the league? Like he's still there, he's hitting shots. And Jalen Green,
Slow down.
I mean, in the moment it felt like it. Jalen Green is he's been on a little bit of a tear. He had a great game last night as well. I love that from him. And one thing that we wanted to touch on was the Mavs Jazz. Obviously, the Mavs won. I wanted to give a shout out to my guy Klay Thompson, who continues just to get wide open threes from Luka. And it's just Klay Thompson's like, I should have left the Warriors years ago. It's so easy. Yeah. This is great. And obviously, there's a terrible injury from the Jazz.
Yeah, Taylor Hendricks, that was awful. Super high draft pick last year. A guy I saw in college a couple of different times because he played for UCF. And by all accounts, leading up to the draft, one of the things that I kept hearing about Taylor Hendricks is what a great kid he was and how that was helping his draft stock at the time. Last year only played 20 games in the season, or 40 games rather. He played 40 games, so half a season. And now, he's only 20 years old, and 3 games into the year, it's ripped away from him. And if you see the injury, I mean, one of the most freakish ones I've ever seen. No one is around him. He is just running, and then it's like his whole ankle just completely buckles. And then they say it's a dislocation. It was just a horrendous injury. Injury.
I think it was Kessler who was next to him, and you can always tell by the reaction of the players closest to the incident.
Yeah.
If they immediately come over to the bench and say, "Get out here," and Kessler couldn't even look at it. He had to turn away. He had to turn away. Didn't go over and put a hand on the guy's back and and wait until the staff got there. Kessler was sort of disgusted and had to turn his face away from it. Which is, if you didn't see it, don't look it up because you can imagine it.
I don't know if I've ever seen something like this happen where it was non-contact. Like usually you see it and somebody, it's off of somebody diving for something, maybe in
sliding
the stands
into somebody,
or something,
rolling on somebody, or
rolling it on
somebody. Yeah,
but he was just running down the court,
and it sat on his leg, kind of like he sat on it. It buckled underneath him. It was just a very, very awkward way. I mean, we've all seen non-contact injuries. Like Steph had 2 non-contact injuries this weekend. He sort of rolled his ankle, but that's sort of like more normal in the natural flow of basketball. This was just a very, very sort of freakish, unique thing, and we wish him the best.
Yeah, and hopefully that kid can make it all the way back because this is a killer for a developmental year for him within the context of the Jazz as well, where he was going to get a ton of minutes. It doesn't matter. He was going to get to play it out.
Yeah. If you are the Jazz, one of the things you want is the opportunity for someone like this to go out there and get experiences while losing basketball games.
Right.
Like that is sort of the point. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you don't need your vets to go out there and learn and develop. You need someone like he does. We hope he gets back. Finally, last one had me up late was the Suns Lakers. Great game.
Yeah.
Great game. Kept me awake. It was great. It was going back and forth. At the end, there's a couple possessions where Gabe Vincent was covering Kevin Durant and went exactly as you expected. Like those are huge possessions. But one of the things that stood out to me was Ryan Dunn. Like
the rookie.
He plays defense, man.
Yeah.
Like, listen, there's some things like when you're a rookie, it's like the speed of the game and getting offenses and sort of getting fooled when you're playing defense. But like just staying in front of a ball handler is just something that you're just gonna have or you don't. And he's got it, man. Like I think they might have found something in him. I think he might be like a little bit of a steal.
Well, and that's one thing about the Virginia guys, and obviously Virginia is going to be not producing the same maybe level of player or type of player now that Tony Bennett has walked away. But you know very well that anybody that played at Virginia, they weren't playing unless they defend like crazy. Like that's their way on the court. It was very, it's very reminiscent of. Years ago, I read this article, and it was Luke Richard Mbamute, and he was being asked about how the early success of UCLA players. That's one of the things he was talking about. And he was saying the reason, and I thought this was so wise, he said the reason UCLA players in that whole like era, whether it was Russ, whether it was Kevin Love, there's a bunch of them, Darren Collison, a bunch of them. And he said the reason UCLA players are able to get on the court and have this success early is because there is nothing better than playing in games in order to progress. And the reason coaches will play us is because Ben Howland made us defend. Coaches will not take you out for your offensive screw-ups nearly as fast as they will. But if you miss one defensive assignment, you're out. And so a lot of these kids that come from schools that play boring styles that are defense first, like the Ben Howland UCLA teams, like the Tony Bennett Virginia teams, have found their way to get on a court at a young age because the coach is able to trust them even as rookies. And I think Dunn is another example of that. What he brings on offense will be a bonus, but if the kid can get out there and he's long and can defend, that's another one of those late first round picks that could really pay huge dividends for a team that needs as many players. As many players that can be cheap and contribute as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, because their salary is such that if they can even get a B out of Ryan Dunn, that changes their next 3 years.
Absolutely,
it really does, because they're so top heavy with their salary, and we obviously know why.
All right,
that was last night.
Yep, let's get to overreactions. So we're going to do an overreaction, a surprise, and a panic. I'll start with my overreaction.
Your overreaction.
I should have picked Cleveland as the one to deal with the Knicks. Again, you're saying overreaction. I mean, in the end, most of the time when we get to the highest levels of the playoffs, it comes down to stars. And they got 3 stars. If you're going to say, if Mobley becomes what we think he's going to become.
Look, call Mobley a star?
I think Mobley is absolutely – I don't think anybody is going to debate that Mobley has had all-star potential. And
yeah, but that's just that last word, though, potential.
Okay, well, fine. Jared Allen's been an all-star. Donovan Mitchell's been an all-star. Darius Garland's been an all-star. Like, that's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
If Mobley is an all-star caliber player, that's 4. They're doing it without Max Strus. They've got the 6-man heater guy in Karis LeVert. They got a couple other pieces that I like, and they're on the Atkinson diet, as you said. And it's a talent thing. And one of the things we wondered coming into the season was they've got the new coach. There's too much overlap with this team. But I'm going to tell you this. The Garland thing last night that you mentioned earlier, that matters to me greatly. He was on a real trajectory 2 years ago, and then it was like, oh, well, the him and Donovan thing doesn't work very well. You remember he had the weird broken jaw injury? Like, he had the season from hell last year and was just never himself. But he was always on this trajectory to be an outstanding NBA player. And I'm always one of those that I pay very close attention to who other NBA players vouch for. And 2 years ago, I went in hard on Darius Garland because I read this interview. Because after working out throughout the summer, you know who was all in on Darius Garland being a potential superstar in the league? Steph Curry.
Huh.
And I'm like, look, man, Steph Curry don't get a lot of this wrong. Like, he knows. And if he's been working out with this guy. And so all I'm saying is, again, you asked for an overreaction. Talent-wise, it's a different type of talent than – everybody's gunning for the Celtics, and they are the prohibitive favorite. But if we're looking for somebody that could match it in this weird way, it's different, and they probably need a little bit more wing defense. But Atkinson being able to figure out how to simultaneously get big-time performances out of all 4 of these guys. Like, Allen last night's got 15 and 15. Mobley's had big games already. Garland's had a 32. Mitchell's already had big games. It's like, man, if you can figure out a way to mix and match this thing to be able to maximize, or at least close to maximize, what these guys would be, but do it as a unit, then I think you've got a chance to be really special, because nobody will deny that level of talent. I mean, those top 4 guys those are big time guys, and Allen is like the greatest role player in the world. Like, he doesn't need the ball. He's not taking shots. He
hasn't dribbled in 4 years.
Right. He does what he does.
Yeah. And I've always loved Allen even since he was with the Nets. But one of the things that, just to support you here with this Cavs thing, is you think, oh, well, the Cavs they kind of got boat raced by the Celtics last year in the playoffs. Like, yeah, but they had 6 guys in street clothes. And Donovan Mitchell had to stand on his head and score 50 points for them to even be in it in the fourth quarter, and they would eventually lose. Like, that, to me, is kind of just a scratch off if you take that. But I will say they do have
the coach is different.
Of course.
We have to evaluate it on the coach is different. We watched what that guy did in Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
With not much talent.
No, that he had, that Karis LeVert, who he has now, is like D'Angelo Russell, Jared Allen, who he has now. Yeah,
probably got fired over Jared Allen because he was playing him instead of DeAndre Jordan.
As he should have. But there's one piece to this that I just want to put on top is Donovan Mitchell has the potential to go nuclear in any game, especially in the postseason. We've seen it ever since the bubble with him and Murray going back and forth. Like, Donovan Mitchell is, I would say that there's Garland, Mobley, and Allen. You call them all all-stars or all-star potential or whatever. It's like, sure, but they don't have that I can be the best guy on the floor and score 50 and get through double teams and slide through pick and roll blitzes and just be sort of a superstar the way that Donovan Mitchell can. And you kind of need someone like that if you're going to make the NBA Finals.
What's your overreaction?
Hold a second. When you say my overreaction is I should have picked the Cavs, ... I thought you were going to say to come out of the East. And you said to deal with the Knicks? To deal with the Knicks?
That's not what I said.
Then you couched it. That's exactly what you said. We're recording this.
No. I said to deal with the Celtics.
That's not what you said.
That is what I said.
Okay. Well, good thing this is being recorded and being broadcast.
Well, Jesse, if I didn't say that, edit it.
No.
Edit in
No.
what I meant to say.
We can't go backwards and edit in what you meant to say. That's not how this works. That's not how this works.
Send me your Venmo. And if I misspoke earlier in the podcast, we are changing that. That's what I meant as an East Finals team.
Okay. We'll see. I have an overreaction. And this is in stark contrast to my preseason Western Conference rankings. My overreaction is the Los Angeles Lakers are title contenders.
Oh,
contenders.
Here we go.
It's called an overreaction.
Okay.
But listen, I had the Lakers, I think I had them like the 10 spot or something, or maybe even like missing the play-in tournament this year. Because if you look at them last year, not that good, and a lot of health from AD and LeBron. And they did absolutely nothing to change their roster into this year. And they just changed JJ Redick. And the early results are there's an actual change there. Like, LeBron and AD have been great. LeBron wasn't that great last night. And he really was. He was first sort of like, oh, okay, maybe he is 39 game last night. But the Rui Hachimura of it all, like, I've been waiting for Rui Hachimura to be Rudy Hachimura since he was like on the Wizards.
Swing, MF.
Swing. Verno, if you don't know, during the Kings game, LeBron James was absolutely just like, couldn't miss a shot. Could not miss a shot in the fourth quarter. And Rui took a contested 2 instead of swinging to him. And LeBron, it was caught by the mic saying, swing. I've made 10 in a row. Swing, MFer. One of the best moments of the season so far. But Rui has gone 1 for 4 from 3, 2 for 4 from 3, 2 for 2 from 3, and 3 for 3 from 3. He's made his last 5 3-pointers, like over 2 games. And Austin Reeves, you remember when they were running through Austin Reeves 2 seasons ago in the playoffs? It was like LeBron would be like in the corner and they'd like be using Austin Reeves. And I was like, what is happening? How is this even a thing? And last year, Austin Reeves sort of had a down year, but he's been excellent. Like the Lakers look together. They look like cohesive, and I'm going to give JJ Redick some credit. They look different than last year, and it's the exact same players.
They do look different than last year, okay? I'm already a little fatigued of the JJ Redick locker room speeches, JJ Redick in the huddle, look at how different this is than Darvin Ham. Let me explain to you something about JJ Redick, who I'm not dissing. The guy, the reviews are good thus far. No way around it, okay? And they do look different as a team. But JJ Redick did not have to do something extraordinary to be in this spot. He just had to not deal with the foolishness that was last year. They made the West Finals. And Darvin Ham came in and said, yeah, we're not playing Russell and Reeves together. Oh, yeah, I'm playing Taurean Prince until the wheels come off. Oh, yeah, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, in retrospect, it's like, hey, here was a team that just made the Western Conference Finals. Here's the starting lineup that had that level of success. Now I'm going to put friggin' Taurean Prince in there instead.
Do you know there's a quote from Rui Hachimura.
This isn't rocket science.
He said, Rui Hachimura said, quote, "We have a system now to kind of play and build around AD and LeBron." End quote.
I mean, this isn't rocket science. Like, if you got
we
that
have a
job
system now to build around LeBron and AD.
Hey, if you were good, like if you got that job and you said, okay, let me look at, because, they say Reddick's a big analytics guy, right? Say, let me look at the analytics. When were we good? Well, it actually says when we have these 5 players on the go. Oh, you mean the starting lineup from the Western Conference Finals that we abandoned completely last year?
It's a great counterpoint.
Genius.
Have you seen this, Verno? Have you seen the JJ Redick at the car wash thing?
No.
He's this might be AI or something, but he's at the car wash with a laptop grinding tape as he's going through the car wash.
Okay.
That's too much. I don't want my coach doing that.
Where do we draw the line?
Enjoy the car wash, coach. Let's chill out. Work-life balance, coach. Just chill out. It's Los Angeles. Smoke a joint. Relax.
All right, here, let's get to our surprises. All right, I'm going to say, so far, one of the things that has stood out to me is a lot of these young players playing so well at the beginning of the season. And what has stood out to me is I look and I go, hold on now. I feel like routinely, so far this season, I'm looking back at these guys that are in these first contracts that are like becoming guys already in the league. And so I went back and looked, the 2021 draft, okay? Now, you might say it shouldn't be surprising to you that Cade Cunningham is good or Jalen Green is good or Evan Mobley is good. But you look up and down that 2021 draft, number 1 was Cade Cunningham. Number 2 was Jalen Green. Number 3 was Evan Mobley. Number 4 was Scotty Barnes. Number 5 was the aforementioned Jalen Suggs. Number 6 was Josh Giddey, who I saw in person last night. And that Bulls team, I'll say this, they don't, they're not going to be.
You said they were ass, Verno. You said they were ass in the first half.
But, man, they started bopping the ball around like crazy. I think they had 39 assists last night. Like, they pass the ball and play at a much higher pace. And they've got guys that can knock down shots. I swear to God, I have a higher opinion of Zach LaVine than maybe anybody. And it's all framed because there's like 7 times I've watched this guy just go absolutely off, just scoring at this crazy rate and hitting like hard shots. Like, I don't know. I feel like I always see the best of Zach LaVine. I rarely see the bad ones. And I feel like I'm always seeing every time he's just like hot fire. Anyway.
You and Russell Westbrook and Zach LaVine can have a little group chat and enjoy yourselves there because I'm good. I'm good on all that.
Giddey 6, Kuminga 7, who was like holding out for $200 million.
Good for him.
Franz Wagner, who's already got the max. I mean, that's the top 8 guys in the draft. Top 8 and none.
8 for 8. Outside of Kuminga, I would say Kuminga's the only question mark. Everybody else, 8 for 8. 8 for 8.
That's insane to have 8 for 8. And then you go down. I mean, 16 was Şengün. 17 was Trey Murphy. 18 was Trey Mann. Like, you look back at this. 20 was Jalen Johnson. Like, the top 20 of the 2021 draft is absolutely freakish. Truly. Already this year. And then, so that's like young guys that are already proving themselves. Let me just fast forward to 2022, and we talked about Paolo and how crazy he was last night. Number 1 was Paolo. Number 2 was Chet, who's been great so far. 3, Jabari Smith Jr., who's on his way to being nobody's selling off their Jabari stock yet.
No.
Keegan Murray, who's proven to be a solid NBA player. Jaden Ivey, who's back on the right track. Ben Mathurin, Shaedon Sharpe, Dyson Daniels had a big game for the Hawks the other night. There's not it's kind of crazy.
It's not the same as 2021. 2021 has stars, all stars.
I agree.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's been very easy in draft analysis is okay, one of these guys is going to absolutely suck. Which one is it? And none of them. That's 16 players. And none of them are not going to have long, $100 million NBA careers probably.
I don't think we'll be singing the same song about this year's draft in a couple of years. I don't think we'll be Sar, Risa.
No. I'm just saying we had a 2-year run of some real talent to where these teams did not mess these up. You can argue they might have taken one guy instead of another guy, but 8 for 8 and then 8 for 8 in terms of getting a player that can be at worst, those guys are all 8-man rotation guys. And that's just not the draft. That's not how this goes typically.
Yeah, usually they're all rotation guys, but some of them are in a different country wearing a uniform that they can't reach. That's how it works.
Shout out Frank Ntilikina.
Shout to Frankie Smokes. My biggest surprise is even prepping for this, I was surprised. The Los Angeles Clippers. I'm looking at this team.
Big Zubac.
Zubac is on an absolute tear.
A tear.
Dude, I know I've brought this up before. Remember game 1 last year against the Mavs when Zubac, it was that was the strategy. It was just dump it down to Zubac and let him dominate, and he did.
Yes.
And they won. And now it's James Harden. Do you remember Sixers James Harden where he was I'm just going to facilitate. I'm going to be a true point guard. I don't need to dribble the air out of the ball and make it all about me. Right. That wasn't the real him. We're getting James Harden in his James Harden form where he's I'm just going to be the system. I am the offense and everyone else work off of me. Zubac has been dominant. Norm Powell has been fantastic. And listen, I'm not going to throw out plus minus and defensive efficiency stats too early in the season because it's a very small sample size. But they're third in defensive rating right now. Third in the NBA. This team. And I'm watching the game, and this is the one that I should have known. I should have known they were going to be good because I was watching the game, and who was in the huddle, barking out orders, getting involved, tapping people, touching people? Jeff Van Gundy. I forgot that Jeff Van Gundy was part of this program.
The architect.
And he's not, how there's certain assistant coaches that kind of stand in the background. They're sort of passive and they might whisper in the head coach's ear once in a while. Not Jeff Van Gundy. His voice is being heard. And I'm not going to give him too much credit, but I just sort of forgot about that element of him on the team. Now, they lost to the Suns in overtime. They've beaten the Nuggets and they've beaten the Warriors. And James Harden has 29-8, 23-16, and 23-11. And he doesn't hit threes either. He's not hitting any threes. He's just doing it. He's just orchestrating. This play hard-nosed defense
Boring.
With good role players
Boring.
With James Harden.
Yeah,
and you can be good.
Boring.
I'm into it. I've always had a place in my heart for James Harden.
Of course you have.
I always have.
Oh
always
my
have.
Gosh. Gross.
You'll see. Jeff Van Gundy's going to take them.
Jeff Van Gundy. I miss him on TV.
Game.
I miss him
playing game.
Stop. I miss him on TV.
Me too.
I do.
ESPN's made a lot of bad decisions.
That's such a shame.
I'll just leave it at that. A lot of bad decisions.
Panic time. I can't believe you let me have this one.
Well, there's two obvious ones. there's two just sitting right there.
It's the Bucks.
1A and 1B.
It's the Bucks.
God.
Start off 1-3. Bro, they got 63, 17, and 13 combined from Giannis and Dame and still lost by double digits to the Celtics.
Yeah.
67, 17, and 13.
Because they couldn't guard Peyton Pritchard. They can't guard anyone that's not standing in the middle of the paint. If you can dribble a basketball 3 consecutive times, you'll get past their defenders. That's it. They can't guard anybody in the perimeter. Who's going to do it? And don't tell me Chris Middleton's going to be the savior. He's not.
63, 17, and 13. Like, if you would have told me that those are the numbers for Dame and Giannis combined, I would have thought, oh, that's a rout. That's a rout. You got both of them simultaneously being great. Like, that's what you want. Both of them simultaneously being great. Unfortunately, nobody else does anything. You know what I mean? And it's all like, it just feels like it's old.
Yeah. The aforementioned Taurean Prince.
That's when you've got to worry. When those guys can still be that, when those guys can play at that level, when Giannis can be that great and you can't win games. When Giannis can, I think he's leading the league in scoring. It's like, maybe if it's not total, it might be right now. No, he's
per
dropped
game,
back.
It's AD.
He's
AD
dropped
is
back.
per game, yeah.
He's dropped back. He's 7th, but he's averaging 29, 6, and 12 right now. And then obviously Damian Lillard's 12th in the league in scoring. So far, he's got 28, 6, and 6. You're getting 28, 6, and 6 from.
That's not the problem.
From Lillard, and 29, 12, and 6 from Giannis, and you can't win basketball games.
Because Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince, Brook Lopez, like where else are Bobby Portis? Like, where else are the buckets coming from on that team? And when they brought in Trent Jr. and Taurean Prince, I was like, oh, nice. Those will be like little role players. They'll play with the second unit and like maybe get 10 minutes a game. But no, they're like relied upon. And there's just, I don't even want to talk about offense anymore. They can't stop anybody, Chris. They cannot stop anybody.
Literally anybody, considering
anybody.
Their loss before the Celtics game was the Nets.
It's really bad. So here's my thing. Doc Rivers, former colleague of ours here at the Ringer. You and him went to some sort of Ringer function to exchange numbers.
No, we didn't. We were supposed to.
Doc Rivers calls your phone.
Yeah.
Chris, I don't stock. I have some trouble here in Milwaukee. What should I do? What do you say?
Quit.
Yeah, no, that's it. I don't even know what to say. I don't know. Like, Chris Middleton is not going to change this defensively. Like, I don't know what to say. I really don't. There's not really a solve for this thing. And I did convince myself.
I know you're saying defense, but I mean, the numbers they've been giving up are not crazy numbers, right? They're not crazy numbers. Like, it's offensively, you should be able to put up enough to beat some of these numbers that you've given up, but you have no chance when Brook Lopez being 36% from the field. He's bananas.
When he's 8 feet tall.
I mean, that's bananas,
yeah.
right? So look, here's devil's advocate. Brook Lopez is not going to be 36% from the field and 24% from 3. Like, that's not sustainable. Now, the rest of it, if you want me to tell you that some of these other guys are going to be much better, it's going to be hard for me to do that. I do think, I know you are rolling your eyes at the Middleton thing, but I do think that will help in a huge way. Simply because you've always got to consider, what is the drop-off to the next guy? So even if you don't think Middleton is what Middleton used to be, it keeps you from having to start Gary Trent or Taurean Prince.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was shocked when I saw them in the starting lineup. I was like, wait, what?
Well, that's just the absence of Middleton. So if they were able to get, but I mean, who knows if Middleton's ever going to be able to sustain being healthy at this point?
Everything that Drew Holiday has brought to the Celtics, he took from the Bucks. That's the concern. Point of attack. And it's yes, they have Dame Lillard, and Dame Lillard can do amazing things offensively, but he is not Drew Holiday defensively. And Giannis might be enough to get you over the hump offensively alone. And that's one of the concerns. And the Doc Rivers thing was like, oh, last year I didn't have a training camp. I didn't have the team. I had to adopt this situation. It all kind of fell apart. And, we had some injury issues and whatever. This year it's like, what's the problem now, Doc? This is all yours. You did the shopping. You bought the ingredients, got the recipe. This is your work. Let's see it turn around. And again, we're 3 games into the season, but it's not good.
Well, you saw how much success Darvin Ham had with Taurean Prince.
Exactly. Taurean Prince Doc Rivers, Darvin Ham, Taurean Prince, and Doc Rivers might be on a yacht in the Mediterranean this summer, just laughing.
Yep.
Just laughing.
I just got an alert on my phone that Rudy Gay retired. So, hey, Doc, call, convince Rudy Gay not to retire.
That team needs to get older and slower. That's probably why. I wouldn't be
All right,
surprised.
what's your panic?
It's obvious. I spoke about it last week, and it's still there. And it was so evident last night. The Denver Nuggets are wasting Nikola Jokic. They're wasting the best player on the planet. Like this is not an overreaction. This is bad. Like, Nikola Jokic has to do every single thing for them on offense for them to get a single bucket. Like, even the final basket that Murray got was because Jokic gave him the ball. And they run everything through Jokic. We all know the numbers and there's nothing on the floor. I'm not even going to start the Russell Westbrook thing. I've already slandered him enough for us to go back and forth. But Michael Porter Jr., this is him from 3 on the season. 3 for 10, 0 for 6, 1 for 4.
Can you give me a little credit for saying I watched an Instagram video of him interviewing a guy whether or not Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide?
It might be related.
I told you it's a warning sign. You know what I mean? If that when the video I see of you has nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with conspiracy theories, I'm starting to worry about you a little bit.
Yeah, maybe I would. You know what? I always hate those like Instagram videos of guys just knocking down threes. It's edited, like you don't even see like one shot. But I'd rather see that than him talking about Jeffrey Epstein in jail. You know
and by the way, let me be clear. I don't want to knock him for conspiracy theory. That's not fair. Because everybody knows that guy didn't get guy killed himself.
That's not even a theory.
It's not even a conspiracy. I mean, come on, that's not
just a conspiracy.
I don't want to be like, he might be kooky, but that's not the reason he's kooky.
That's fair.
Everybody believes that.
Yeah. We know. We all know.
We know.
But so they've committed money, and again, like they were the champions 2 seasons ago.
Wait, hey, aren't these a little similar, the 2 teams we're talking
Analogous?
about?
Yes.
Won the title and then
commit
stuck
to that
with,
core.
Yeah, the ones that we stuck with. And then obviously Milwaukee's tried to make a swing with the Damian Lillard thing, after a disappointing season 2 years ago. But both of these teams won the title and then re-upped with those same guys. And what I wonder is, are you ever going to get that same level of play from those guys that won the title with you? If you're ever going to be able to get that back.
Oh, no, you will. You are going to get that same. You'll get that same level of play from Nikola Jokic, but nobody else.
Right.
And Jokic is bringing that same level of play. Look at Murray. Since the title, Murray has just been non-existent. He's 4 for 13, 7 for 14, and 6 for 20 on the season. 30%, 50%, and 30% on the season. Porter can't hit a 3. Aaron Gordon. Listen, like they won the title 2 years ago, and last year they went 7, right? And it was a great series, and it could have gone either way, right? They were on their way. Don't forget, they felt like at one point during the playoffs, it sort of felt like they were going to be the Western Conference champions until things happened. Obviously, they ran into the Timberwolves, but Aaron Gordon in that dunker spot was such a huge. It was like a hack. It was like when you play Madden and someone figures out like a fullback dive, you get you 4 yards every time. It felt like a hack. It was like short roll, Nikola Jokic. If you come to him, he's going to throw it over the top, and Aaron Gordon's going to dunk it. So he might even reverse dunk it. It happened over and over and over again, and it was unstoppable. This year, Aaron Gordon has 12, 10, and 16 points. Can't hit a 3. It just doesn't seem as effective anymore. He got paid. Murray, we've documented already how he is not who he was, and he is not helping Jokic at all. He got paid. Jokic obviously got paid. And then you got Michael Porter, can't hit a 3. I feel like we spent all summer talking about the young guys on the Nuggets. Watson, Strother, Brown. Do they pop off? Do they pop off the screen when you watch the tape? When you watch Nuggets?
Absolutely
not at all.
No.
I think Watson had a nice block one time when I was watching.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. Watson looks like he could be he's got the potential to be a high-level defender.
Yeah, but the Nuggets.
No, I mean, you have one of those. You look, I've covered guys like this. I covered Mike Fratello years ago. That you'll find one of these guys every once in a while, like they did with Christian Brown, that the coach will actually fancy and will start playing. But the rest of them, they don't want to play young guys. They don't want to play young guys. And so I'm not so sure in terms of development. Like you look at other guys that have been there, like they draft these guys. And again, maybe these guys were never going to be, maybe they just missed on them talent-wise, whether it was Bol Bol or whether it was RJ Hampton or whether it was all these guys. But a lot of these coaches, they don't want to play these young guys. And then what happens is there becomes this strain between the front office and the coach. And I'm not saying that there's a strain there, but I'm just telling you I've seen this happen before where there becomes this strain because the front office wants the young guys to play and the young guys to develop because then they can turn to the owner and they can say, look at my genius. I drafted him and I drafted him and here's another hit and here's another hit. And so they mix these guys in to truly get them on the court and develop them. And then what happens is you finally come to a point where they just say, you know what? We're taking your options away. We're taking your options away. We're not going to sign the Taurean Princes of the world. We're not going to sign the Malcolm Brogdons of the world. We're not going to sign these young guys. We're going to, or older vets, these Jeff Greens, that you've had and this kind of stuff. Like, you have no choice but to play these young guys that we've drafted. You have no choice. And the coach usually doesn't want to do it. And the coach usually isn't accentuating what's best. They're trying to all those kids are just scared to screw up all the time, I'm sure, because the rope has always been short for them. And so I'm not sure, he is he's more of the old school guy. Those old school guys are great for winning now. But I've never thought they're great for developing the guys that you have for the future.
And what they have right now does not work. And the Russell Westbrook thing is it's just an absolute disaster. And this is panic time. His heart
and soul pushed them over the line against the Raptors last night.
I watched this game last night. They lost to the Raptors. They lost. Like, they might have won the game. They might have ended up scoring more points than the Raptors. But the Raptors had the game in the fourth quarter. Scotty Barnes got his face exploded by Jokic, so he wasn't in the game. And they just kind of freaked out at the end of the game and lost it. But this should be an 0-3 Nuggets team that lost to the Raptors in Toronto. Like, this is not the juggernaut they were 2 years ago. This is not even the team they were last year. This is panic time. They can't shoot. And Jokic even said himself, he said, we can't shoot.
What's crazy is on our panics, we could very well be talking about arguable, but the two best players in the world being a combined 1-6.
Yes. And
with losses, if they lost last night, they'd have been a combined 1-6 with losses to the Raptors and the Nets between them.
It did feel like a loss last night. I know that the Nuggets won the game in overtime, but it took every single thing that they had to beat a Scotty Barnes-less Raptors team down the stretch. That's what it took. And this is very early, but can you see a world in which these are your two representatives of the Eastern and Western Conference in the finals? I can't see it.
Nope.
I can't see this turning around.
No way.
I cannot see this turning around because it is not like these are new problems we didn't foresee coming this offseason. Think about that. It's not like we didn't raise a hand and say, well, what about the Nuggets' depth and shooting? It's not like we didn't raise a hand and say, well, what about the Bucks' perimeter defense? Like, it's right there in front of you. And it was right there all summer.
Last thing before we get out of here, the Wade statue.
God.
Do you watch his comments about it?
Of course. Here they are.
Like it's not supposed to look like me. I mean, that might be the craziest quote I've ever seen. It's supposed to be an artistic rendering of a moment. I'm like, hold on. No, it's for sure supposed to look like you.
Yes.
Like, what?
We know the difference between art and abstract art. This is not an interpretation of the human form. This is a true to life statue. This is supposed to be lifelike of you. So I've done way too much research on this, way too much. And there's a video of him with his face next to the statue's face. So he was involved in the process of making the statue.
Yes.
It wasn't like this was the first time he's seen it. And it makes me feel like he didn't speak up enough during this process.
Oh, he's doing it like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
sure,
cool.
sure, yeah, whatever, yeah.
Just
feel like
being
they're
agreeable got him in.
Yes,
Involved.
and
Okay.
It's so the statue itself is great except for the shoulders and up.
No,
it's
head,
really
yeah.
the face.
It's the head.
I feel like, yeah, and well, let's go to this. Is that the appropriate pose for Dwyane Wade?
I mean, I got the moment.
I get it. It's like
that he's like,
Wade
on top of
County,
the scorer's table.
This is my
house.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a moment in time for sure. But if it was gonna, if his expression was gonna make him look nothing like himself, then yeah,
His expression looks like someone's taking out his big toenail with pliers. That's what it looks like. That's what the look on his face looks like. And look at how many it's the neck and the eye area. They just put too many wrinkles on there. Like it's just too many wrinkles on the face. And I want to give a big shout out to my friend Reggie Hooks, Reg the Ledge. He pointed this out to me in a group text. He's like, so if you watch like the original Terminator film with your kids, right? There's part of them that sort of rejects it because it's sort of like old looking. You know what I mean? It's like, this just looks old. Like, and you're like, I mean, even if you watch Jaws, like my kid is like, that's not a real shark, because we have gotten better at this over time, the medium of making films. Statues have been around since prehistoric time, like the pharaohs. And think about, like, I went to Italy and like looked at these statues. Like the statue of David is fantastic. We've been getting statues right for thousands of years. This is not new to our species. Why now, after 4,000 years of making statues, why are we this bad at it now when we were good at it 2,000 years ago?
I mean, look, I tweeted this out, a PSA to kids, any kids that might be following me on Twitter. I said, look, dear kids, some of y'all become statue makers. I mean, like, hang up forget the liberal arts degree or the gender politics
philosophy
degree. Everybody's going to have those. I promise there's a lane for this. What I don't get is, go find the guy that did the Dirk statue.
That's the guy that did the Dwyane Wade statue. It's the same guy, Chris.
No, it's not.
The same. Bro, I swear to God, the guy that did the Dirk statue is this.
Because that's ridiculous. There's no way it's the same guy. Or he's lost vision.
I think he did the Kobe statue too.
Oh my God, this is the guy. Okay, then you did this.
He hates Dwyane Wade?
Because of that stolen title where Cuban got fined all that money.
Oh.
If he made the Dirk statue amazing and the Wade statue, he's mad about, what was it, Game 5 or Game 6 with all the fouls?
Yeah, with the calls. Yeah.
Where people feel like it's like, that one and the Kings Lakers are the ones that are held up as the most egregious officiating ever. It was Dwyane Wade that did in the Mavs. So he makes an amazing Maverick statue, and then this horrendous, this is payback.
Did you see Bam and Asia Wilson, their reaction to it? Like, they have to change it, right?
They have to. Except Dwyane Wade acted like he was cool about it.
I know. What else is he supposed to do? But how much does the statue cost? $200,000?
I have no idea. I honestly, I can tell you, I've never.
It could cost $200 or $2 million. I have no idea. But if it's somewhere in between that, just pay the money, Miami Heat. No one wants to see that, and put him on the scorer's table.
Right.
Have the scorer's table be underneath his feet, so it sort of like really hits home in the moment. I'm so upset about that statue. Dwyane Wade.
Well, it's better. You know what? I just feel like the percentage chance of a statue unveiling with everybody going, "Oh, that's awesome!" Like we did the Dirk.
The Dirk one.
That feels like 1 in 10. Seriously.
It's
Do you
also
remember
lucky.
when they did the Iverson one and it was like the size of a bobblehead?
Yeah.
It was crazy. It's like this like tiny statue. And I was like, oh, come on.
Well, I think the Ronaldo one has been making the rounds based on this Dwyane Wade thing, but they replaced that one. They had the internet reacted a certain way and they need to replace this statue. Just do it. Do it in the offseason. Just replace the statue.
Dwyane Wade say it's not supposed to look like me. It's like I love that.
It's a great pivot. See, that's why he's in media now. He knows how to spin. He knows how to zag.
Oh, and then
he turned to look like me.
And then he turned it into all of us that are criticized. This is when you know.
How many statues do you have?
Yeah, this reminds me of guys telling me how to play basketball. They can't do what I do. Just like they can't sculpt like he sculpts.
That's
like, bro.
My racist sculptor, statuist. What do you call them? Sculptor.
Like, yeah, I'm for sure allowed to have an opinion on whether or not something's good or not. I freely admit. I would say, like, just given AI now, I bet I could actually make a better statue. Like, if you gave me the funds, I think I could probably
2 months. 2 months.
Yeah.
No problem.
I'm not telling you
$50,000.
I could not sculpt it. I agree. But I could certainly, through like AI or something, go find a guy that could just mimic something perfectly.
Well, look at NBA 2K. Right. You can make digital people that run around like that. Why can't we just make a statue? And again, I can't say this enough time. They were making lifelike, down to the eyelash statues. BC.
With wieners.
BC.
Wieners.
Lifelike wieners. yes. Like, this is, again, 3,000 years ago, before they had, like, irrigation. You know what I mean? They were throwing their feces onto the street next to a perfect lifelike statue. And here we are in 2024, and Dwyane Wade looks like someone's ripping his toenail out with pliers.
That's right.
Like, how is this even possible?
Yeah. With BC next to the year number, they have full-on unbelievable statues.
You know what?
With stick and berries on the front.
Yes, of course. I am so excited for Friday's show because I'm just going to apologize profuse about Russell Westbrook because he's going to turn the Nuggets season around. Friday's show, Russell Westbrook, he's going to be averaging 25. They're going to put him in the starting lineup.
He for sure won't.
He's going to be throwing lobs to Jokic, and Jokic is going to dunk them. It's going to be amazing. Off the backboard.
I have moved straight to Russ the Inspiration. That's what I'm going to move.
It is more likely that he gets cut than it is that he turns this around. It is more likely. Wow, you just got sad. Oh my God.
I just don't think it's a cool way to end the show.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? I felt like this was pretty upbeat. I feel like we were real happy about stuff. And now you're talking about a guy's career ending. I mean, come on. You're trying to send him to China.
He'll get picked up by the Wizards. That's the last time he was effective. It's true.
Why not us? Why not us? I think they got a win last night, by the way. We didn't shout them out. Didn't they get a win? I feel like Washington got a win.
Oh, they did.
And we didn't
absolutely
even,
right. You're absolutely right. Kuzma went off. Kuzma and Poole, 5 for 9 from 3, 6 for 8 from 3.
Against your Hawks.
Chris Burt, 4 for 9 from 3. Some of the Hawks were like, who are these guys?
Chris Burt. Kiss Burt. Come on.
Kiss Burt. Whatever.
Against your beloved Hawks. Wow.
The Hawks definitely were like, oh, Trae Young, 2 for 15.
Oh,
that's a tough night. That's a tough night.
Yeah,
Trae Young. You're not going to win if you're the Hawks, if Trae Young goes 2 for 15.
Wow. Yeah. Who needs Russell Westbrook in Washington? They're getting dubs.
Some of the Hawks were like, wait a second. We had this down as a win.
All right. It's always a pleasure, Jacoby. We will catch up on Friday. Thank you to our producer, Jesse Lopez, as always. And I'll talk to you later this week.